What's up, y'all? Today I want to talk about what I learned from James Blackwell. James Blackwell is this really cool entrepreneur from the UK, and I recently found out about him when I started to study more about reality transurfing. Reality transurfing is this a way to view reality, and it's proposed by this author named Vadim Zeland from Russia. And I think I've been really able to resonate with the teachings of reality transurfing. And as I searched on YouTube to learn more about the concept, I came across James Blackwell. Well, James Blackwell, he runs multiple businesses in the recruitment sector, and he also drops a lot of gems on his YouTube videos about business and life. For the past few weeks, I've been watching his videos every day and really trying to take in the advice and teachings that he has to share. And I want to get started. So what he always talks about is that imperfect action always beats perfect ideas. He says that you gotta take action even though it's not perfect. The most important thing is to take action and not be stuck in that phase where you're researching or you're procrastinating. He gives an idea of how when he was starting up his first business, he didn't have the perfect website at first, but it was enough to get him started. He says that 70% is good enough, so you gotta just take action. And he says to take action relentlessly. Because if not, you're just going to be stuck in your same spot, same situation. But when you decide to take action, you progress. And even if it doesn't go well, you're still able to learn from it. And another one of James Blackwell's teachings is to be a sovereign entrepreneur. A lot of times, entrepreneurs would start a business, but they would ultimately but they would ultimately create a cage or prison for themselves, basically create a job for themselves, meaning that, they can't really step aside from their business. They have to, always be in the business, not be the one overseeing it. So without them, the business wouldn't function essentially. And he says, of course, at the start, when you're first getting the business started from the ground up, you gotta be the one leading everything, doing everything. But once you reach a certain point, he says that you gotta be able to, completely step away from the business and be the one that makes the high level decisions so that you're not the one doing the actual, labor or actual work, the work. And he says that, every decision you make about your business, it should be from this perspective, this way of thinking that ultimately I want to be a sovereign entrepreneur. I don't want to trap myself. I don't want to create my own cage. Man, I think it's really important to have that mindset because I have experienced, starting up businesses myself, and I basically created my own trap, my own prison, and I definitely resonated with what he said. So that's why he's able to have several businesses and be able to ensure that they're all profitable and they're all successful. Another one of James Blackwell's teachings is to really focus on your energy and make sure that you have, good positive energy because the energy you bring into your business or your life is really, really important. Because, if you have a low energy, low vibration, you're gonna attract negative people, people that you don't really want to deal with. But if you are able to have, good positive energy, you're gonna be able to attract the right people, the right opportunities. And he always says that the most powerful people, they always attract, they don't chase. And the way to make sure that you have a good energy is to, make sure that you have a healthy diet, healthy lifestyle, and that you are also able to reprogram your subconscious so that, you're able to have a positive outlook on things and make sure that your default settings, your subconscious, doesn't fall back to that negative way of thinking, that negative, pessimistic way of thinking. So you gotta reprogram it so that you are able to, always think positively, always be optimistic about everything. And I definitely resonated with that because when I look back at my career, my life, and at times when I had that really low energy, that depressed mindset, pessimistic outlook on life, that's how my life was. What was inside was just being reflected in the, physical world. So I really resonated with that. And now I really try to make sure that, I have a healthy diet, healthy lifestyle. What I, take in input in terms of media, I always be careful that, it's not trying to, sway my energy levels in the wrong direction. So now that I have, better habits, I definitely feel like I'm, able to keep up my energy at a good level. And another one of James Blackwell's teachings is to, follow your heart. And this is a concept from the book, Reality Transurfing as well. But, he really reiterates this idea as well. And he says, when you make a decision, it should come from the heart. And that whenever you want to pursue a goal, you got to make sure that, it really comes from your heart, that you want to, achieve that goal. The heart knows the best. So what you don't want to do is you don't want to chase foreign goals. Goals basically set by society, your people around you, and you think, just because that's the right goal, you just follow the crowd or whatever, and you start chasing those goals. But that doesn't always mean that it's, your true goal, your true path. And ultimately, your heart knows best. And what James Blackwell suggests is to imagine that you already achieved that goal, and you gotta, you know, try hard to really step into that yourself who's accomplished that goal, and then ask yourself how you feel in that moment. And if you feel good, then it's probably for you. But if you feel some type of anxious way, or you feel stressful, even if you reach that point in your life, then that goal is most likely a foreign goal. So it's really important to recognize that earlier on so that you don't end up, you know, choking yourself and basically making your life, harder than it should be. And another teaching from James Blackwell is that, if you drink alcohol, you're not gonna be able to, reach your highest levels of, spiritual states. And yeah, I definitely resonate with that because I used to, smoke marijuana, drink alcohol pretty regularly. And, now that I'm completely sober, I don't do any substances, I definitely feel that, I'm able to tap in more spiritually. And even if I'm not on any substance, sometimes I feel that when I'm at a really like, spiritually, you know, high state, like a really like tapped into myself, then I feel like um kind of like living in between a dream and real life, kind of hard to explain. It doesn't feel like I'm 100% sober, but it's not like I took any substance. So it's like a real like weird spiritual trance state. But you ultimately don't really need substances to live a good life, essentially. You don't need to drink alcohol to, be happy. Just like the way society is, you're gonna have alcohol at, a lot of dinner tables, but it's okay to not drink, it's okay to, do what's best for your health and your own mind. And the last thing I want to mention today is that he says mindset is the most important thing for success. And as he learned from his mentors, it's 85% mindset, or even more, 95% mindset, 99% mindset that ultimately leads to success, not strategy or technical skills. It's actually mindset. And you gotta really have the right mindset and really believe in yourself, really believe in your unlimited potential so that you are able to, you know, maximize your potential. Because, if you have a negative outlook on life, you're pessimistic, then your life is gonna be that way. But if you're able to reprogram your subconscious so that you have a strong mindset, you're able to, make sure that you have a positive way of thinking and you really are able to believe in yourself, you have highest self-esteem. And yeah, I really resonate with that because think about it. Do you think Steve Jobs, do you think Elon Musk, they have a weak mindset? No, they have very, very strong mindsets. No, they don't really care what anyone thinks. They're, very high driven, highly successful people, and they have the mindset. Because, everyone works the, same 9 to 5, but even if you work really hard, you give up, all your energy, your time, and you work really, really, really hard, doesn't mean that you're gonna be successful. Okay, so what he says is it's all about mindset that you gotta have the right mindset. Oh, and yeah, one more thing that I learned from him is that you gotta be able to cut through the the noise, the the distractions, and really focus on what's ultimately gonna help you reach your goals. Like he was saying how when he was first getting started, he would have, a lot of opportunities to network, a lot of people wanted his time. He had to do a lot of things, but when you are able to really step aside and assess what's really gonna ultimately deliver the highest value, the highest return on investment, and you are able to do that task, then that's ultimately gonna get you, where you want to be. Because you don't need to, constantly be doing something. You gotta be like a lion, right? Lions are resting. When it's time to strike, they go in for the prey. And if you are able to figure out the maybe 20% that really brings in the most value and focus on those tasks specifically and you know a specific time slot of the day that's dedicated to highly focused work, then you'll be able to get things done and ultimately get where you want to be. And that's all I gotta say for today. And yeah, I'm really grateful that James Blackwell was able to share these insights and learnings for free basically. And I think there's a lot to take away from him because he's one of those people who actually lived that path. He actually started from zero and got to where he is. And of course, there's all kinds of gurus on YouTube who want to sell you their course. They got these clickbait YouTube titles, and they don't really have much substance sometimes. But this guy, I think he really walked the path, and he really has value to give. He really knows what he's talking about, and I think he really lives based on what he's saying. So I think that's why I'll continue to learn from him.